streets are paralysed by tractors. 71,000 farms are under threat of ruin. This is not an ordinary protest. Usually, police defend themselves with shields, but tractors are impossible to stop. At 9:20 a.m, the No Farmers No Food group issued a threat. If Starmer does not back down, this will be the biggest uprising in British history. Despite this, Keir Starmer gave the green light to legally rob farmers of £300 million. At 9:45, the London police immediately declared that every farmer participating in the blockade of Parliament would face a year in prison. The protesters simply didn't care.
Just minutes ago, London witnessed something it hasn't seen on this scale in years. Tractors rolled toward the capital, streets filled with banners. Thousands of farmers, many travelling overnight, converged on the heart of British power. By early morning, it was clear this wasn't a symbolic protest. This was a line being drawn. At the center of the outrage is a policy critics are calling a death tax, a proposed change to inheritance and estate rules that farmers say could dismantle family-owned farms that have survived for generations. To the people standing outside Parliament today, this isn't about politics. It's about survival. For decades, British farming has operated on tight margins. Land rich but cash poor, many family farms depend on inheritance relief to keep businesses intact when ownership passes from one generation to the next. Farmers argue that without these protections, heirs could be forced to sell land just to pay tax bills. And once land is sold, it rarely returns to farming. What triggered today's explosion of anger was the belief that government officials underestimated how deeply this policy would cut. Quiet consultations turned into loud opposition, warnings turned into marches. And now, tractors are blocking streets within sight of Westminster. The scale matters. 15,000 farmers is not a fringe group. It represents a backbone of the rural economy. Agriculture supports food supply chains, transport, manufacturing, and exports. When farmers mobilize like this, it sends a signal far beyond the fields. Inside government circles, there is growing concern that this backlash could spiral. The UK is already facing inflation pressure, labor shortages, and fragile supply chains. Food security has become a strategic issue, not just an economic one. Any disruption to domestic production risks pushing prices higher at a time when households are already struggling. Farmers say this protest is not about refusing to pay tax, it's about fairness. They argue that farmland is not a luxury asset but a working tool. Treating it like disposable wealth, they say, shows a lack of understanding of rural life. Many protesters today spoke about legacy. Farms passed down from grandparents, built through decades of work, weather, and debt. Losing them to taxation feels, to many, like erasing history. Political opposition parties have been quick to seize the moment, accusing the government of being out of touch with rural Britain. Some MPs warned that this policy could permanently damage trust between Westminster and farming communities. But the implications stretch even further. International markets watch domestic unrest closely. When a country's food producers are in open conflict with its government, investors take note. Stability matters, predictability matters. And scenes of tractors filling capital streets raise questions. There's also a cultural divide at play. Rural communities often feel invisible to urban policymakers. Today's protest is not just about tax rules, it's about representation. About being heard before decisions are finalized, not after. As the day unfolds, police are attempting to manage crowds, but the atmosphere remains tense. Organizers insist the protest will remain peaceful, but emotions are high. Many farmers say they will not leave until assurances are made. Behind closed doors, emergency meetings are reportedly taking place. Officials are weighing whether to clarify, delay, or revise the policy. But walking it back entirely could be politically costly. Standing firm could be economically risky. This moment exposes a larger issue facing the UK. Policy decisions made in isolation can trigger cascading consequences. Agriculture intersects with trade, inflation, employment, and national resilience. Ignore one, and the others react. For viewers watching at home, the question becomes unavoidable. If farmers, one of the most traditionally stable groups in the country, are this angry, what does that say about the state of the nation? Today may be remembered as a turning point. Not because of the tractors alone, but because of what they represent. A warning that economic pressure has reached a breaking point. A signal that policies affecting livelihoods cannot be treated as technical adjustments. As night approaches, it remains unclear how long farmers will stay, or what concessions may come. What is clear is that this story is far from over. And as London absorbs the shock of this uprising, one message echoes loudly through the streets. When the countryside rises, the whole country feels it. Stay with us for updates as this developing story continues to unfold.